Hey everybody, it's Ben Murphy with the Deuce Kirk team at Keller Williams and Commonwealth. Welcome back to Living in Lexington. Today I'm finally doing it. I've been getting requests, I've been getting questions. Today we're going to talk about the bourbon industry, okay? And we're going to give you my top 5 bourbon distilleries that you have to check out while you're here in Lexington. Here we go. Coming at number 5, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the Town Branch Distillery. Okay, now what makes this bourbon distillery very unique? It's the first bourbon distillery to actually be built in the Lexington area, Lexington City, in matter of fact, in 100 years. Okay, so that's actually a really, really big deal. I know it's got a really, really cool history right out of the gate. In 2008, 2 copper stills that were commissioned in Scotland finally made their way over here in the Lexington area. In 2012, Town Branch opened its doors after its first bourbon was able to mature and be aged. Since then, Town Branch Distillery has leaped into the bourbon industry, being labeled as part of the bourbon uh, trail here. Ever heard of Bourbon Barrel Ale? Well, the beer, I love that beer. And the fact that you do know it is because it becomes from Town Branch. So just so you understand, within like minutes, Town Branch has rushed into this, and by producing this bourbon barrel ale, they definitely have made a name for themselves easily, and it's a very, very popular beer in the area, and I know it's a popular beer elsewhere. My wife and I took a cruise about a year ago, and so we're halfway around the world, and in one of their classes they were doing like a beer class where they talk about the different types of beer. Bourbon Barrel Ale was one of the featured beers, believe it or not. So it was crazy for me to be a Kentuckian, be halfway around the world, and they're bragging about this beer and saying how cool it is, and it is a very, very cool thing. And it's a pride thing here for being here in Kentucky, and that's one theme that you're going to get out of this video is all the bourbon industries. There's a sense of pride of what we do and where we're from, and the fact that we're from Kentucky and we do create this is very unique and it's very different, and we love that. So for this reason alone, Town Branch easily makes the top 5 list of what you've got to see for bourbon distilleries while you're here in town. Okay, the number 4 distillery that you got to check out while you're here in Lexington is the Wild Turkey Distillery, which is actually located in Anderson County, which is in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. Now, looking at a map, it's just to the west of us, so it's not too far. It's an easy little drive to get there from here, but it's definitely worth the drive. Now, the distillery has been around for 100 years, and that's kind of going to be a reoccurring theme when I introduce the next couple of distilleries. It's gone under a bunch of different names, bunch of different ownership throughout the years. So that's just again a reoccurring theme here, but it's been around. The home location has been here forever. 1940, Wild Turkey was born. It was kind of funny. The owner actually was on a hunting trip with his buddies, and they were trying to figure out a name for it, and that's where the Wild Turkey name came up because that's what they were hunting back then. So 1940, Wild Turkey came up, and it was just another legend was born and added to the bourbon trail without even knowing it. So Wild Turkey is the only father and son duo master distillers in the world, which is really, really cool. Master distillers is a very, very unique title when it comes to a bourbon distillery. Only a few people hold that title, and it's usually based off of what distillery you work with. They're your ingredient masters. They're the guys that know everything, or the people, I should say, men and women. There are women master distillers, so I apologize for that. It's a cool title and a cool, unique job. So the fact that you have a father and a son duo, which is insanely rare, it's the only one that exists at Wild Turkey, kind of gives that, again, it adds to that prestige ness of the Wild Turkey. Now, Wild Turkey products are known to having spokesmen, and Wild Turkey is no different. So they decided to reach out to a famous celebrity known as Matthew McConaughey. Now, Matthew McConaughey, in his first meeting, immediately fell in love with what Wild Turkey was, their history, their culture, and what they're doing. And instead of just being a spokesperson, he took it to the next level. And so they made him a creative director. So basically what he does now is he is actually working with Wild Turkey on creating a unique new flavor that kind of blends some Texas flavors and holds true to that bourbon Kentucky flavor to create a whole new bourbon, which they have now named Long Branch, which is very, very cool. See, if you haven't tried it yet, you got to check it out. I've tried it. It is unique. It's different, but it's good. I do truly enjoy it. So, you know, it's a cool, you know, history. Again, like this is one of those bourbon distilleries that's been around forever, but they're innovating and trying new things and trying to grow their product and reach new heights. And that's just a tiny little example. And, you know, based off their history, based off what they're doing here now, is an easy reason why they make my top 5 of must-see distilleries here in the Central Kentucky, Lexington area. Hey everybody, before we continue with the video, you gotta do me a huge, huge favor. You gotta hit that like button. It really does help us when we're getting these videos out there, especially for people who's trying to research about which bourbon tours to actually go check out. This video is definitely gonna help them out, so make sure you do me a favor, do them a favor, give that video a quick like. Coming at number 3, ladies and gentlemen, on bourbon tours that you got to check out, you need to definitely go back to Lawrenceburg, so make a day of it. Go check out Four Roses, okay? Four Roses is internationally probably one of the most popular bourbons on the market, and there's a few reasons for that. Not for just because it's really, really good, but because of its history. And so, without giving too much away, you know, the founder of Four Roses, it got its name in 1888 when the founder, you know, fell in love with this beautiful Southern belle, and you know, he made a proposal to her, and so there was this beautiful ball that was coming up, and she said, I'll give you my answer that night. If I come in and I'm wearing a corsage, you'll know if I am, if I'm not. So long story short, she showed up with a corsage of 4 roses, and they got married. So keeping in tradition with that, the owner named his bourbon distillery Four Roses after her, which I thought was a really cool little story. It's a little unique, a little different than Wild Turkey, you know, going on a hunting trip and naming the bourbon after that, but I like it anyways, and I thought that was pretty cool. So in about 1940s, it switched hands, new ownership took over, and the owner stopped all sales in the state of Kentucky and the United States, and he took it overseas to Europe and Asia. It was real popular in Japan, and internationally, Four Roses is probably one of the top-selling bourbon whiskeys on the market, and it still is over there in Europe and Japan. So that's pretty cool that it's now in an international. I think that's probably, my personal opinion, that's probably what gave bourbon that international known prestige, is probably because of that and because he pushed it out there. But fast forward right about the 2000s, new ownership takes over, brings it back to Kentucky, brings the distillery back to Kentucky, brings it back to the state of Kentucky, back to its own Kentucky home, and opens it up again and reintroduces the sales in the state of Kentucky. So that's real important when it comes to the history of this. Like, it's a unique history. Every single distillery you'll find is unique. The grounds are beautiful. We went there actually right before our wedding. We met with some family members from out of town, and we went and checked it out. I enjoyed the tasting room on that one. That they had very different style bourbons, which was really cool, and I think it gave it its own little flair. But Four Roses is honestly one of my favorite bourbons. Honestly, like, just you know, if you ever do a bourbon and Coke, I don't just do like Jack Daniels or do one of the lower ones, but I like going a little higher scale. Four Roses is definitely there. So Four Roses is a phenomenal bourbon. If you probably have heard of it, if you are a bourbon fan, and this is definitely a good reason why you should definitely go check them out. And it makes our list of the top 5 bourbon distilleries you must see. Coming at number 2, ladies and gentlemen, no question, Woodford Reserve definitely is in our top 5. So Woodford Reserve Distillery is actually located in Versailles, which I think location-wise, it probably has one of the nicest locations, because the drive there is a sightseeing tour. I mean, you are surrounded by beautiful bluegrass horse country. So, I mean, you got horses, you got bourbon distillery. It's like going to Kentucky heaven. I mean, truly, okay? And once you go and drive out there, you'll see that for yourself. But the grounds itself are unique in its own right. The buildings are unique in their own right. It was established, the original distillery was established back in 1812. I think back hard enough, I could probably remember learning about a certain war that happened during 1812. So that's amazing that it's been around that long. Now, of course, like many distilleries that have lasted this long. It's gone through different hands, different names. 1996 got its famous Woodford Reserve name, and the rest is history. You know, a legend, another Kentucky bourbon barrel, bourbon legend has been born. And so I loved it. The tasting in that room was fantastic. It has one of the probably best bourbons I think I have ever drank, and it's the double oaked aged bourbon. And when you go and you taste it, you'll understand why. Okay, so I highly recommend if you are drinking age to participate in the tastings, because you get trying to think of the right terminology here. You'll get a unique satisfaction towards what they do, appreciation for what they do. That's the word I was really looking for. But without a doubt, Woodford Reserve is great. You got to go check it out. They've got 3 different main types of tours. You could do the normal tour. You could do a shortened tour. You could do a VIP master distiller tour. It only costs you $500 a person. So I would recommend just doing the normal tour. Definitely do the full tour. You want to see the grounds. You want to check out the warehouse. You want to do the tasting room because you want to make sure you get a full experience of what Woodford Reserve is and why they are as popular as they are, especially here in the local area. I mean, it is the official bourbon of the Kentucky Derby. That's a title you're going to have to fight them for that one. So I definitely recommend you all go check out Woodford Reserve when you come. If you do live here or if you're just visiting, it's got to get on your list of one of the bourbon distilleries that you get hit all along that trail. Last but not least, coming at number 1, the first one that you definitely got to go check out, ladies and gentlemen. It's the one, it's the only, it's Buffalo Trace. Okay? If you are a bourbon connoisseur, you have probably heard of Buffalo Trace. Okay? If not, you probably have and doesn't realize that it is Buffalo Trace. There's some bourbons out there called Eagle Rare. That's Buffalo Trace. You ever had Buffalo Trace bourbon cream? Well, you're going to get it when you get on this tour, so you got to go check it out. Colonel Taylor is another bourbon that's coming out of here. Blanton's. It's another fantastic one. Buffalo Trace is easily one of the oldest bourbon distilleries in Kentucky, if not the planet. It was founded back in 1775. Yes, you heard that right. It is older than the United States. Okay? So it's older than Kentucky. It's older than the country itself. So it's been here for a while. It's got a really, really cool history. Daniel Boone came through here through the Buffalo trails that were created, left by the Buffalo, which is where eventually Buffalo Trace gets its name. Okay, back in the Prohibition, it ended in 1933, Buffalo Trace was one of 4 distilleries that was still operation and able to do it. So like they survived. And I don't want to jump in too much of it, but it is truly one of the most beautiful places that you can go check out. It's in Frankfort, Kentucky, our state capital. It's got its own, beautiful kind of scenery. When you get out of the tour really starts when you get out your car in the parking lot. You're immediately hit with that aroma of the fermenting and the bourbon itself. You're just, wow, you kind of just walk into it going, we're in a whole new place. And a lot of the warehouses that you see were built in the late 1700s and the early 1800s. I mean, they're still being used. So you're almost stepping back in time when you take those first few steps into the grounds, and you see it everywhere. I mean, they've got some of the buildings that were built back in the late 1700s still there. And it's, again, a really, really cool scenery. It's so beautiful that people host their weddings there. I was one of them. I had my wedding there. My wife and I loved it. Our family and friends, they still brag to us. They think it's one of the best weddings they've ever been to. It was a great venue, great experience. And, when you go and do these tours, you'll understand why. I feel like every other tour guide that works at Buffalo Trace is usually winning tour guide of the year for all bourbon distilleries. And you'll get it once you understand, once you go and check it out for yourself. But it easily makes our top 5, if not number 1. You've got to check out when you're making your trip and you're making your plans. It's a one of a kind. That's the best way I could describe it. But constantly updating, constantly trying to think of new ways to innovate themselves along with the other bourbon distilleries. All bourbon distilleries are fantastic. There's, again, a sense of pride among all the distilleries here in the state of Kentucky, and they love the fact that they are from Kentucky, and that, the bourbon industry is making our, little Commonwealth a well-known area around the world. And Without a doubt, you've got to check out all five. They're all fantastic. They all do great jobs, and you'll enjoy yourself and you'll learn just a little bit more about this beautiful state. And I know you're going to walk away with positive reactions. Holy cow, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I hope you got to learn a little bit more about the bourbon industry and why it's so important here in the Bluegrass State and what makes it such a relevant topic here in the area, especially in the Lexington area. I talked to you a lot about the rich history, the culture that goes behind it, and a lot of the new innovations that is kind of leading the path. And that's why I chose these five. These five are a well-known brand, well-named brands, and they are definitely pioneers here in the current state of the bourbon industry, and why it's such an internationally known product. And so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you got to learn a little bit more. Hopefully I geared you towards some options, especially when you're looking at the bourbon trail and you see all the different types of bourbon industries. I really focused on the ones here in the central Kentucky area and here locally. There are phenomenal bourbon industries up in Louisville, and as you go up 64, there's just more and more and more along that trail. So I definitely would say check those out. Definitely go check them out. You know, Maker's Mark is a premier bourbon that's got a great tour, great, facility. And I know a lot of people that go there love it. So don't just take my word that these five are the only good ones. There are amazing bourbon industries out there, and there are new ones popping up every single year. And, there's a new one down in Nicholasville that I didn't mention that's really, really cool. And it's gaining a lot of traction in its young, first few years. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Do me a quick favor. If you haven't already, hit that like button. And if you are thinking about moving to the area, thinking about learning more about the area, then you have to do yourself a favor. Hit the subscribe button, okay? It's going to notify you every single time I release a new video. I'm doing 3 to 4 every single week. So we're going to talk about real estate, and we're going to talk about things to do. We're going to talk about neighborhoods. I'm going to cover it all. And it's, there's so much here in the area that I could cover. I know it's taking a minute to get some of the fun topics out there, but they're on their way, okay? They're coming, I promise you. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment. If you know someone that's trying to move to the area, 2 easy things you can do. Shoot me a quick email, shoot me a text with the info, leave a comment, or you could share the videos with them. Let them know that we're here. Let them know that what we're doing and everything that we're trying to do to help make the move for everybody as smooth and painless as possible. If you're here in the central Kentucky area and you need help listing your home and making your way towards, a new home, let us know. We'll definitely help you out with that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ben Murphy. I'm with the Deuce Kirk team at Keller Williams Commonwealth. This is Living in Lexington. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching.